Let's spill the beans, chew the fat, food for thought, jokes on tap. Talking with our mouths full, having fun. A piece of cake and humble pie, serving up a slice of life. Leave the dressing on the side, it's naked lunch. Clothing optional.
Many things happen when you work on the Grammys. And this year, one of the nicest things was, I think the day before the show, when there were sort of rehearsals going on, I was asked to go backstage and meet with Carole King, who's obviously one of the greatest songwriters of all time. And I was very happy to do so, but I was much happier when I realized I would have a reunion with one of my favorite singer-songwriters who back in 1988, I think it was, at Rolling Stone magazine, this artist who was Warner Brothers had signed, and I got a record by Louise Goffin called This Is the Place. And it's one of my favorite records of the 80s, my least favorite decade in music history. And Louise, who happens to be the daughter of Carole King and Jerry Goffin, was there along with her lovely sister, Sherry. And it was just so great to catch up. And thank you for joining us for a special segment on this Naked Lunch.
Happy to meet you.
So happy to meet you. And I love spontaneity. This is so great. And that was a trip to reminisce with you in that little area divided by black cloths. And,
yes.
Yeah. And I do remember that day coming in very well.
And by the way, I don't know if you got to watch the show, but your mom it was pretty amazing. She was just the reception,
what a reception she got. That was beautiful.
And giving an award to Billie Eilish, I thought, well, that's interesting because you literally have two young women who sort of define excellence,
for their generation.
And there might not be a Billie Eilish without a Carole King.
That was a beautiful handoff, and I was really glad that she got to give it to Billie. Yeah,
you are now. The reason we're talking now, we'll talk, I'm sure, other times, but there's an event coming up at not far from where we're recording. There is one of the great, for the last, I don't know how many years, I've been going to a place called the Hotel Cafe. And recently there was news that it is, at least in its current location, shutting down. But there is a benefit coming up for a very meaningful foundation to this very meaningful venue. Can you tell us about what's happening?
Well, the Goffin-King Foundation is a nonprofit that I founded 5 or 6 years ago, and it's to empower songwriters, artists, musicians, and it really does do the job. In the beginning, we were doing educational things, and then I quickly realized that when I was coming up and through the whole record business system, I never liked the whole gatekeeper thing. I never liked the, here's an expert, here's someone who knows, here's someone who's sold all these records, let them tell you how it's done. And I just wanted to be an artist from the get-go. I wanted to just, be in the studio, make records, perform songs. And I didn't want anyone telling me, well, you just need to do this and you need to do that. And I didn't want to waste time with, if you do all these other things, then, there's a carrot dangling and then you'll get to another rung. So it was really a value thing. And what I have done that I've always loved throughout the years is gone on songwriting retreats where you don't know people, you're put in a room, you got to write a song, you're done, you do it again. And it's always been one of my favorite things. So I thought, that's all I want to do is bring people together. And that started to happen only 2.5 years ago. It's very hard to imagine it's only been that long because it's really turned into this vibrant community of songwriters and artists. And the weird thing about it is if there was a mission, at any point to help with boundaries or mental health, which are things that artists really have to deal with. I mean, you're now expected to do 5 or 6 jobs, not just write a song. You're expected to make content, book your own gigs, do your own promo, do your own routing, do your own posters.
It's almost like artists aren't really respected.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things that I feel like we offer is people walk in, and the second they're in, you're valued. You're valued. Go. You're already an artist.
Yeah.
You don't need to learn anything in order to be qualified to walk in this room and be part of this song. And amazing songs are coming out of it. And then we added a recording component. So the last one we did was at Abbey Road Studios.
We've heard of that place.
Yeah. And we all felt so, I don't know, everyone there. I mean, we had people there who, have been in the best recording studios in the world.
Yeah.
And they still felt like this was like Mecca.
A holy place.
It was holy. And it was
I dare
fantastic.
say I think for Phil and for me, that seems like a more holy place than most holy places.
Yeah, right.
I think there's no temple or church that would put me in
they don't
that
ask
much
you for money when you walk in.
Yeah, that helps.
And there's no crosswalk in the world.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that was amazing. And we're going to Muscle Shoals in April.
Oh, great.
And hit some of the studios there and take over the town. So this show coming up at Hotel Cafe, when I heard that they were closing, I thought, we've got to do a salute to Hotel Cafe. And it is a fundraiser for the Goffin-King Foundation.
Right.
Because one of the things I like doing least is all the admin pick up the phone, ask for grants and things. But yeah, this show is going to have a lot of the songwriters, and people are flying in from other cities.
Can you say who's coming?
I have a list of everyone. Chris Stills is going to be on the bill.
Who's really wonderful, and I've seen at Hotel Cafe.
He's a beautiful cat and a great musician, great singer, great performer. Mitchell's coming from Memphis, Lena Beach. A lot of the young people who are not so well known, but are just killer songwriters and performers are going to be there. So it's a chance to see rising talent.
It's interesting because the Hotel Cafe, I don't even know if you've gone ever, but
no, but this sounds like a great one, a great way to see it.
Yes.
Where is it?
It's
on
in
Cahuenga.
Hollywood, on Cahuenga, and it's a really old vibe room, and in a funny way, it's kind of like when in the 21st century and maybe the end of the 20th, it was sort of like what the Troubadour was, which I remember going to see. Am I dreaming, or did I see your mom and James Taylor do the Troubadour? They recorded when they
recorded a special.
2008, I think it was. Yeah.
I was there, and that was not an easy room to get into, if I remember correctly, because later it was in like arenas.
Yeah.
But that, I talk to still, like, if I talk to Don Henley or some of the Eagles actually sort of came together on that stage, backing Linda Ronstadt.
Elton John made his mark there.
Yeah. But the Hotel Cafe, for me, when I moved here, that was like a place where, and unusual, because the 90s were a different era. I remember, I think Katy Perry really started there, like as a singer-songwriter, really.
Amazing. Yeah, it's been a staple, an iconic staple in LA for the longest time.
And what date and time, so people can know?
Yes, it's on a Wednesday. It's the 18th, February 18th.
Coming up.
Yeah, coming up soon.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
That is why when Louise sent me the invitation, I realized we better get
and where can we tell people to get tickets?
You can get tickets on their website.
At the Hotel Cafe.
You can just go to the Hotel Cafe calendar, buy your tickets now. The tickets will be less expensive now than they will be walking up at the door.
A good tip.
And you never know. Like in my world, sometimes surprise gets just show up at the last minute. So, you want to get your ticket in now.
Fantastic. Are you going to perform too?
I am.
Fantastic.
And just to, you did not want to, you didn't ask to be on to promote yourself. It's actually your mom was very proud of this foundation. And by the way, I just wonder, like, how meaningful is it to do this in the name of not just your mother, but your dad, who I never met, but I sort of just worship the work. Like, and for people who don't know Phil, I don't even know if you would know, but like, beyond the songs they wrote together, there's like some of the greatest songs of all time. Like, I think I'm a huge Gladys Knight and the
Pips
fan, and
I just want to use my imagination.
I gotta use my imagination. Is one of the greatest songs of all time.
It's not the Spotlight.
Yes, it's not the Spotlight. Which and there's a couple other songs.
Whitney Houston.
Yes, and that's not with Carol. That's
amazing.
Jerry's work, and in fact, I'm a Dylan fanatic, like a lot of people.
So was he.
Yes, and there's a couple co-writes with Bob and Jerry Goffin that are just wild, great songs. Yeah. Oh, but I'm saying doing it in the name of the two of them, how meaningful is that for you?
It's very meaningful for me. Like I kind of like any mention of Tapestry or I Love Your Mother, I kind of like, yeah, it's like being a doctor and says, I got this thing on my shoulder. Like how often, and I'm a fan, and it just so happens that record was just so, like staple, like breakfast Wheaties. But with my father, he was always lesser known, and I lived in London for a while. And when I go to a record store and they'd see my name, they'd go, "Oh, any relation?" And I was always so impressed if somebody had read the liner notes and knew who my dad was, because he was the behind the scenes dude. But yeah, it's very meaningful. I am a huge fan of their songs. Just as songs, and the recordings, they're great recordings too. I'm a huge fan of them as songwriters, and also my dad, his lyric writing, I didn't start off being good at lyrics. Music came really easily to me, but I feel like I got really good at lyrics because my father was there as the gold standard, which is just, write like you talk. You don't have to have it in a bunch of poetic stuff. You just, and Dylan did this a lot too. You start a song with a conversation. That's what I did on that This Is the Place on Bridge of Sighs. I was thinking, what would Dylan do? What would my dad do? And the first song, the first lyric is a question. Is your love something that can be won? As if you're like starting from the middle of a conversation, and I love that.
By the way, there's two songs. There's so many songs that Louise has done, and we recommend you go and explore all of it. I believe This Is the Place is hard or impossible to find. I think on YouTube I can find, I've seen people put on. Bridge of Sighs is one of my favorite songs of all time, and another song called 5th of July, among my favorite songs ever.
Thank you.
Just so beautiful. But I guess, I wonder with the general topic, because I know it's important to fill arts education in general, just supporting young artists and inspiring young minds with music. It seems like we're in a time when there's so much else going on in the world. There's so many other things to get pissed off about. You can not be as pissed off about arts education being undervalued.
It's so important. We live in a time of noise right now where, our attention is constantly being taken away. And I always say to people and myself, I have to remind myself that the biggest currency that we have is our attention, because we spend it. We waste it, and we don't have it. And if you have attention on the things that are important to you, your self-care, your songs, your art, the people you love, your life improves, but we so easily give it away. And we go unconscious because, life is hard, and there's the scroll.
Yeah. Yeah. But I always say to people, they think that the arts are disposable, but what they don't realize, it's the answer.
I believe that. I agree. It is the answer, and it's also has a lot to do with identity. We live in this world where everything is very much put in lanes and demographics of, who people are based on the color of their skin, their gender, their age, all of that stuff. And when you get to music, you're in charge of authorship of who you are. It's just, you can do that through your art. You can do that through books, writing, performance, comedy, podcast, music, and it's the most important thing.
Oh, no, I see it. And I try to find the positive in the moment. Like, the fact is, my kids, I used to have to go to record stores and hunt for everything. And I did, and it ended up being my career, and thank God I did it. But there's an upside to my kids being able to explore any path and find music on their phones. But I just think the problem is if you get lost in your phone and you don't let yourself feel things as you know. I fought to buy a record, fought for the money to get the money to buy the record. And then I guess the other thing that just scares me is, and you would know this better than I would, but on the other end, the economics of the music business, getting paid, to get.
It's a huge thing. I mean, the other thing with attention is if you get any, that's considered payment now. Just to have any, if you can win someone's attention who will follow, or, I actually find it's hard for me to even get my co-writers to listen to a recording it's like, hey, recorded this,
Yeah.
It might be weeks till they listen to it. So that is really the lay of the land out there right now. I will say though that I think, people who graduated school during the pandemic, their lives were starting and the world had shut down and have been through so much, since then. A lot of that generation, they're much better about boundaries and phones. A lot of things more are analog. People love cassettes and vinyl again. They love physical things. I think there's a saturation and burnout with just everything being digital. And of course, these streaming services, everything's really easy to find. You can put your playlist together, which isn't as meaningful as when you used to make your own mixtape. And if
That's
someone
right.
gave you a mixtape,
Yep.
you knew they loved you,
Yep.
right? That was a
took
labor
time.
of love.
Yeah.
And now you can do it so easily, and the algorithm is helping you, but it doesn't have the same value. But when you buy a cassette or a record, I mean, I have a young friend, and I said, look at that cassette machine at NAMM. And she goes, I've never seen one. I go, you just press the button
Used
and
to
it
be
goes
my best
around.
friend.
Yeah. But it is changing. And I think there is saturation, and people, they want real.
That's right. We were just talking about it with our last guest. This disconnect from humanity is happening in every sector of life.
Yeah.
And so we need to reconnect with human beings and not machines.
Well, that's why it's funny, like Hotel Cafe, to bring it back
Yeah.
to that, that is literally a place, it literally looked like a club, from a jazz club from the 50s or a folk club from the 60s.
How many seats?
There's like 2 rooms sort of, but very small, 100 or 200 couple of people.
Oh,
three.
people, you better get your tickets.
And I did things with like John Fogerty had me interview him there for like 3 hours, and people sat and listened to us discussing every song by John Fogerty for hours. It has a place where it focuses you. Literally, it's sort of dark. It didn't have really, the windows weren't generally open to Cahuenga, and it was just a real focused place. But like movie theaters, like clubs, it's like places that take us out of our homes, out of our own heads.
Yes.
We need them.
Community.
Community, exactly.
Yeah, I had a podcast for a while. I think I hosted and edited like 80 episodes, and one of the themes I found, it was called Song Chronicles. One of the themes I found talking to people who had been around in the day before streaming is their careers all started by doing that exact same thing. Getting out of the house, saying, hey, my drummer friend said there's a show he's playing. And then they end up meeting the co-writer that they wrote, that made their career. And it was always by being somewhere physically, meeting people, and doing something in real time that changed their lives and their careers.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it from just clicking on something.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I have seen some really good musical hookups from Instagram. People like, where'd you meet? I just found them on Instagram and private message them.
Yeah.
So all things work, but
Listen, people get married that way too.
yeah. So I hear.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so back to the show. I will say, when you say singer-songwriter, people expect that you're going to have like sadness, people staring at their acoustic guitars. That is not going to be what this show is. This show, there will be funkiness.
Yeah.
And it will be like all genres. It's a very lively show. It's incredible songs. And I will say, when we do these retreats, we at the end of every night, we play a public show of the songs we wrote that day.
Whoa.
And we write 2 a day. So
Wow.
sometimes people wander in and always their jaw is dropping like, what did we just walk into? Like, how did we not know about this? And people are listening on their phones like, how did that song go that we wrote 2 hours ago? And figuring it out, and then boom, on stage, playing it live. So there's going to be a lot of liveliness. Yes.
I love how much you love it. I have to ask you, because we just met, well, was there ever a time in your life, even as a kid, that you said, I don't want to do what mom and dad do? That's boring. Did you ever? Because my guess is you were born this way. You loved it from the beginning, and you were on the river.
Well, yes, I was. Yeah, I didn't have a normal childhood because my parents were so young.
Yeah.
My mom, when she had me, had just turned 18.
Whoa.
And my dad was 21, just turned 21. So I had really immature, teenagery, people as parents who were just starting their lives. So in a lot of ways, I had a roof over my head, but I really had to raise myself. So the one thing that I felt was like the equivalent of what most people would call like the family dinner. Mm-hmm. The family dinner were the great songs that they wrote because my father just put the best of himself in his songs, in his lyrics. And my mother was just, and still is, which is a great thing. She can do in her 80s what she did when she was 16 wow. and go write with people. And she's doing exactly the same job. But what I would say is like, yeah, she grew up kind of freakishly amazing at harmony and chords and my grandfather was also Carol, so she had the performer bug very early on. And so the two of my parents together, they were just able to just hit this very high level of
such a high level that I think the only time when I talked to McCartney, he said like the Beatles, like Lennon and McCartney were in awe of Goffin and King. Like that was like in awe. And just to film, you might not know this, it was very funny. After you were at the Grammys, I think someone saw you walk by and it was a manager who I know. And she's, maybe, she said to me, Kid fucking blue. Like, you put a record out. I don't know how you were really young.
Yeah.
And you were a teenager and she put out that was the debut. And it was like, and this is a woman who manages big artists. And she was like in awe because you came out of the box with, full blown great rockin' artist.
So wait though, was there ever a moment where you said, I'd like to do something else?
There were more when I was, an adult. When I was pregnant with my eldest child, the funny thing is I was 8 months pregnant when I got a record deal with DreamWorks and Lenny Waronker signed me. And this is a message to your listeners, don't believe everything you think. You can say, I'll never, I'm past this. I'm too old for that. Like the things we say. Yeah. The last thing I thought at that time was anyone was going to sign an 8-month pregnant, artist. But I had been making music and, and at the time there was a lot of super young artists it was like a young pop era. Yeah. And that was
sort of the Britney, Christina.
Exactly. Uh-huh. And I just thought, no chance in hell that I'm going to get this going. I'm going to have, I learned other things. I'm a real student. Like I love learning new things. So I just take pleasure in, I just go to university if I had time. In fact, when I had record deals, I was always like, I want to go to college. When can I have time? And I never did. But there were other things I did. But music is just, it's the most important to me to be able to create. I love making records. You know, I love being in the studio. I love creating, and playing live is its own beast. And it's the thing I probably have done the least of. I've never done real big, long tours. I get very homesick. I'm a homebody.
Although you did go on tour with, am I imagining it, or Tears for Fears
I
at one
did.
point?
Yeah.
Was that like, I'm trying, was that with Kurt and with
No, it was just with Roland and his killer band. And we went to South America and Europe, and it was a really big gig for me, I would say, because I had been an artist, and all of a sudden I'm playing lead guitar and singing in this big band, you know? So it was kind of a fun thing. I did that.
Well, we want to encourage everyone, and I want to encourage Phil, because the truth is the perfect evening in my mind would be go to Max and Helen's for dinner, which is right here in Larchmont. That's Phil's restaurant.
Okay.
And
Good to know.
And then head to see this amazing event benefiting a foundation that you know, we need. I know, Phil, you do. I do nothing for anything other than write words.
We support the arts.
But you know, supporting the arts is very important, because as we all try to defend the Constitution and make sure the planet still exists, it would be nice if we kept the arts going as well.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. So yeah, Hotel Cafe, you can go on their website, and if you look up the date, and the Goffin-King Foundation presents.
Date is February
18th, which is a Wednesday.
Great.
If it's not a Wednesday, I'm saying the wrong date. And yeah, look, you can get the tickets there. Also, if you want to find out more about the foundation, you can go to the Goffin-King-Foundation.org and look it up there. And yeah, get your tickets in advance so we know you're coming.
Well, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Such a pleasure to meet you, Phil.
And a pleasure to be reunited
Yes.
after all these years.
Thank you for having me.
Naked Lunch is a podcast by Phil Rosenthal and David Wild. Theme song and music by Brad Paisley. Produced by Will Sterling and Ryan Tillotson. With video editing by Daniel Ferreira. And motion graphics by Ali Ahmed. Executive produced by Phil Rosenthal, David Wild, and our consulting journalist is Pamela Chellan. If you enjoyed the show, share it with a friend. But if you can't take my word for it, take Phil's.
And don't forget to leave a good rating and review. We like 5 stars, you know.
Thanks for listening to Naked Lunch, a Lucky Bastards production.